Lift off in 3, 2, 1.
Look at that. We're recording in progress.
Let's record.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jerry Pujals. I am your host with the Body Mind Index, and I'm here with my friend Lauri Deits, who I've known for a long, long time, and I've had the pleasure of doing a podcast interview with her before, and this is our second time together.
Thanks for having me back.
You got it. Like Howie Mandel would say, remember, they're in here, not over there.
Okay.
Remember that. That's Howie Mandel's rule. Howie Mandel, you know who that is?
Yeah.
Howie
yeah,
Mandel.
I'm sure.
Howie Mandel says, make sure that you're looking down the barrel when you're talking to them.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when it comes to studios, we look at ourselves on the screen, and if we do that, we miss them.
Okay. That's good to know.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
And by the way, as much as it's tricky, I'm still working on it. It's because I really want to look over there. Because I think I've lost all this weight. I'm pretty happy with how I look these days. I want to keep looking at me, and I need to get over that. I need to know that I'm really here for them. I'm not really here for me. Yes, well, beautifully said.
I would probably been looking at you or myself at the screen the whole time. So that's a good point.
It's only by my errors that I know. You know, such as life.
Yeah.
So that's what life is.
Trial and error, pick yourself up, do it again, do it better.
Communication.
Yeah.
And communicate. Good segue.
Yep.
So Lauri is a life coach. We've had the pleasure of working with each other when I had a real estate business coaching company, and then she's actually served some of those clients for many years, and successfully has helped many people get, maybe, I don't know if the term is unstuck, but maybe help them get to where they want to go. And a lot of us, me more than a lot, I find myself stuck a lot of times, and then I reach out to people like you and have conversations about how do I go to my next level. So I was gonna just kind of maybe let you say a little bit about yourself, because if they haven't watched the last podcast, they missed it, but I encourage you to go back to that podcast. Oh, and by the way, before I get started, I need to tell them, meaning tell you, if you don't mind, if anything that we say today is helpful, please hit that subscribe button, give us a like, hit comments. I read every single comment, good or bad, it doesn't even matter. I really skim through the bad ones pretty quickly, because they don't come on often enough to really worry about the bad ones. But I learn even from comments that might not make me feel as warm and fuzzy inside. I learn from those, so bring it. And we're here spending this time together for you. So with that being said, remind us what it is that you do and why you do it.
Okay. Gosh, lucky me that I get to do it, I'll tell you. So last time we read my bio, went through, and so just to kind of recap, my first half of my life was all about business. And so I started doing accounting when I was 14. Had a bookkeeping business. I worked for CPAs. I was the accountant for a couple of real estate companies. I had my real estate license for over 20 years. Income controller of a casino, cash flow management manager, a lot of business, had my own bookkeeping service, everything. So lots and lots of business. But when I was young, I wanted to be either a therapist or a teacher. And I was discouraged by school counselors from doing that. They said they wouldn't have jobs. And so in the course of all this business, and especially the management aspect of some of my positions, it really renewed my interest in psychology. And so I resigned from a management position, went back to school to become a therapist. And so I got my BA in psychology. I was working on my master's in counseling, discovered coaching, which at the time was pretty brand new. I've been coaching for 22 years now. So at the time, you'd say, I'm a coach, and people say, what's for? No one knew what it was. And so when I was working on my master's, I was doing counseling, and my clients were changing. And so my peers, my fellow students, my teachers are like, what are you doing in the room with your clients? And it was because I was taking a coach approach without even really realizing it. there was something called solution-focused brief therapy, which was one of the models. There's cognitive behavior therapy and Jungian, and there's so many different types of psychology, but I really was attracted to the solution-focused brief approach. And so it's very similar to coaching. And so people are like, what are you doing in there? I had one client, he said, I've gotten more out of 3 months with you than, like 13 years of therapy. So what I was doing was working. So I went through a 2-year coaching school and have never looked back. This is who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. I love being a coach.
You've always, that's always radiated out of you. And I'm so grateful that you share that with the audience, because I didn't know that was how you came into it. I would have thought it was totally different. I would have thought it was much more from business to coaching and getting certified, because I've known a lot of coaches that's been they feel something and they want to give back, and I don't know if that term is giving back. They just want to help people. They're desperate to help people. And anybody that's known who's been a great coach, that's their calling, is to do for others. But yours is interesting because you do have the business background, which I always knew you did. Not that intense. I didn't know it was so far outside of real estate. Yeah, that's really fascinating. And I know people who work at CPA firms or accounting firms, and I know what that job entails. And that's a whole other side of the brain and a whole other animal, which I'm so happy you've told me that, because it explains a lot about you.
Yeah.
When you and I do business together, which we've had the great pleasure of doing multiple transactions over the years, we've done a lot of business, if you think about it, multiple times. And you just gave me an insight as to how you're able to comport yourself the way that you do, which is fascinating. I love doing business with you. I really do. It's like next best thing to, I've become a vegan as of the last year, but it's the next best thing to butter. It's butter. It's very concise, very methodically thought out, and when there's a little hole, you plug it. And by that I mean, if there's a question, you don't move off of it until it gets answered. And I love that. Every time I sit with you, I learn something. And I think that's thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful, because I just thought, here's a person that I find myself in some type of alignment with, and there's a cohesiveness about the way that when we meet with other associates who, let's just say they're clients of yours, that you and I are involved with, and we're in a meeting room. If Susan and I are there and there's 4 of us in that meeting room, it goes so well because you're there.
Oh, thank you.
And that's what I wonder, if people, at least from an entrepreneurial side of the fence, if that's one of the things that people get from coaching, is if it's how to handle stressful situations and be broad about them, not be narrow about them. Did that make any sense?
It all makes total sense. And it depends on the coach.
Yeah.
There are some amazing coaches out there.
Yeah.
I like to think of myself as one.
I would.
There's a lot of really bad coaches out there. Years ago, I was going to a deli frequently, and the guy finally says, "What do you do?" Because that's coming in a lot. I said, "I'm a coach." He goes, "Oh yeah, I tried that." And he had a very negative attitude about coaching. This is, 15 years ago, probably. I said, "Well, you didn't try me." And I said, try a couple sessions with me. He loved it. So, anyone can call themselves a coach, but, I've done the homework. I'm really dedicated to my craft. And that is one of the things that makes me a good coach, and an interesting coach too, because I have dual backgrounds. I have a really strong business background, so I'm a business coach. And I've done the psychology and the counseling and everything. I've worked suicide hotline. I've done a lot of stuff that makes me a really great life coach. And so all coaching is life coaching. All coaching is life coaching. But then some people have business coaching.
Wow.
They want to increase their, sales abilities or work on their profitability for their business. But all coaching is life coaching, and I love it.
Wow. We're peeling back into just a little bit, because again, and this happened last time when we were together. I can see, besides myself, I can see how people in my sphere, I can already think of 2 to 3 people that this would just be amazing for. What I also find fascinating is that, like weight loss, or like anything, it's almost hard to suggest things till the person is ready. It's, I mean, I guess you can suggest it, but I find that what I found recently is that the best way to suggest something is by being it, not just by doing it, by being it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, being versus doing. That's a whole conversation.
And we can do a
Yeah.
podcast on that.
Yeah. There's so many, I mean, everything I talk about today in terms of life coaching, each one of those could be a whole podcast. There's so much to life coaching. That's why to be a really good coach, you know, it requires a lot of skill.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm coaching, I'm listening to about 50 different things. You know, we're just having a conversation just like we are now, but my wheels are spinning. I'm listening to what you say and what you don't say and how you say it and your energy when you're saying it. I mean, there's so much, your values, you know, your self-esteem, your beliefs, your languaging. There's so much going on in my head, but it's very easy. And that's why
For you.
we could dive deep and talk all day about coaching. It's one of my favorite topics.
That's fascinating. No, I'm glad we're here. I just, that's what I see on the conference floor and the boardroom table with you. I really see that there's never a stall in your mind. You're picking up the nuances and then you're making sure that I say nothing is left uncovered in that meeting table, because you're catching all of our blind spots.
That's a whole topic right there, blind spots.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to see things about other people.
Yeah.
It's hard to see things about ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
So there's things that we're aware of, we're conscious of, and then there's things that are subconscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, a blind spot. You know, I mean, almost anything you say today, I'm like, let's talk about it. Because blind spot is, you know, oftentimes it's something we don't see about ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame.
Yeah.
Right? And then a blind spot could be something like it could be a strength overused.
Yeah.
So like being organized, that's a real strength.
Yeah.
But overused would be like the term anal retention, where every paper clip has to be 3 inches from the left and every staple. I mean, then it becomes a hindrance. And so that's an example of a blind spot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or, you know, being kind to people. That's a wonderful quality. Goes into people pleasing and not taking care of yourself and not being able to say no. So that would be an example of blind spots right there. Like, so one of my clients, she said, Lauri, you're a great flashlight. And I was like, what does that mean? She goes, you always know exactly where to shine the light on things. And I was like, I love that, because that's what I love to do. We don't see things about ourselves, or there might be ideas that they haven't considered. You know, people get single focus. It's like, well, what if we did this? It's like, bing, you know.
Well, you're really leading me into the next question, which is, you know, for many years I've been in therapy. So I've had multiple therapists. I find that therapy for me is something that I'm still very open to. I'm actually in the process of writing a book right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This book is a letter to my father. And it's a letter to my father. It's not necessarily a letter to my father. It's a letter to my kids explaining my behavior.
Wow, what a gift. What a gift in so many ways. A gift to yourself, because it's probably cathartic.
Very cathartic.
And then a gift to your children to, you know, if we could all understand our dad, especially, you know, because dads, through conditioning over the years, you know, big boys don't cry, and men are so conditioned, right? And so there's so many people that if they understood their father better, like, you know, my father never told me he loved me. And it's like, if they understood why, what a gift. And then the legacy and how you're changing the family history here, probably through doing it.
Well, thank you. No,
it's amazing.
And it's, you've hit both the nail on the head in several spots there, because what it is I don't want to leave this earth with them asking themselves the why, because I have so many questions for my father. My father, still alive, got Parkinson's in his early 40s. So he's about 76, 77 now, still relatively a young man, but he's he can't speak anymore.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm never going to get, and he's too immobile to write. So I'm never going to get those answers to those questions. And the letter is just really by me asking him. My hope is that my kids will understand the things that I don't understand, that I can never get an answer to, but that if they have a question for me, there's still time for them to ask me. If I left any holes, that there's times for them to ask me. But when you said cathartic, I'm also hoping that if there's a gift in it for them, it is exactly what you just said, is that if they feel this pressure cooker, that there's a way to release it, and maybe it is explaining to their children the why. So that you're right, when it could be, I'm hoping that it's generational.
I'm sure it could be, absolutely.
I'm really hopeful that it's generational. But now leading to the question of, I was thinking of going to talk therapy to work out the process of continuing to write that book, because I don't want that book to have a tone of anger. I really don't want it to have a tone of anger towards my dad. And again, my dad was physically abusive to my mom. There are a lot of questions I have there that I'll never get the answers to.
Yeah.
My dad would abandon us a lot. I went to 16 schools in 10 years that I was in school. I mean, I didn't have the worst life, but it was definitely not it wasn't necessarily, it was not that. My dad would womanize and just a lot of things that were hard for me to understand. And there are a lot of things that I'm still processing as to why that behavior and why this and that. But I do feel that by me getting this out, it's you said it beautifully. It's helping me process this in a way that I never knew was in there, making this guy who has been up to this point.
Yeah.
And in the process of figuring out how to sort of put the mask on myself first, I'm able to serve others, not by telling them what to do, by just being. So now I'm trying to figure out, as I write that book, and I'm getting deeper and deeper into it, and every chronology in there is so, it brings on another one. And one of the things that I find fascinating in life is the concept of hiking, because I love hiking, and I hike because I want to know what's around the bend. I'm trying to figure out what's around the next bend in this journey and what I'm doing. So I'm wondering if therapy or coaching would be, or both, or I wonder if you have an opinion on that, if that's an example, if that serves you as an example.
This is great. This is coaching. This is talking.
Okay.
And already there's a few things that like bing, bing. My mind is like, as you're talking.
I see you getting a little emotional. Why?
Does it look like a tear?
Yeah.
I think it's actually just my eye water.
I'm hoping.
And compassion.
Yeah.
And someone, well,
I was hoping I was not.
it probably is a little emotional, because I was thinking how honored I am that you're trusting me so out the gate.
Oh,
This,
yeah, it's easy with you. Yeah.
it's just, and that's what happens in my coaching. Sometimes people in the first call, they start crying and they're like, I don't know why I'm crying. It's because it's a safe place. And sometimes people never even talked about something. And it's like, they trust me. It's going to go no further. It's confidential. It's a safe place. I'm not going to judge it. And it's like, and then we can work on it. And it's like monsters live in the dark. So when you can bring them up and start to talk about them, they lose some of that power over you, So a couple things that just popped into my head as you were talking. You mentioned anger. You don't want to have an angry tone or whatever. And so anger is really a cover-up for usually, fear or hurt. And so the anger that you're feeling is probably really hurt, I'm thinking. I don't know. Yeah. So it's like, it's hurt. We didn't get what we wanted. And I'm angry about that. But sometimes we're not educated about our emotions. And that's one thing I do in coaching too. It's like, it's permission to be human. It's permission to hurt. It's okay to be angry, but let's not get stuck there.
Can I clean that up a little bit?
Yeah.
So when I said anger, I hear you, but when I said anger, I'm referring to as much as my dad could be looked at as a monster, with some of the things that I mean, some of the things are pretty heavy. There's still a side of me that's just a little boy that loves that guy and wants to honor him, and that is grateful. That I'm so grateful for so many of the things that he did, even as big as, you know, crossing over 90 something miles of shark infested oceans to get to the beaches of Key West, you know, when he was 16 years old.
Wow.
So so that's when I say anger, I also don't, I just don't want my kids to judge him either, because that was, you know, because there are so many things that are going to be unanswered for me, and I know that he is that way because it wasn't easy for him. I mean, if somebody thinks my story is, oh wow, that's heavy, I assure you his is much heavier. I assure you.
Well, and that's where the understanding comes in, because then you find the compassion and the forgiveness, and our parents are responsible, but they're not to blame. And that I think helps a lot. They're responsible. They did what they did, and it affected us, but they're really not to blame. They're a product of their upbringing and their life experiences. And had they had a different life, they probably would have done it differently. And I think everyone's doing the best they can all the time, even when it doesn't look so great. But I think, you know, with the skill set and the emotional IQ and all this stuff, EQ, they're doing their best. And so when we can remember that, it doesn't mean it didn't hurt and it didn't impact you, but it helps with the forgiveness and the understanding.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So
thank you for sharing all that.
No, thank you for letting me. So coaching versus therapy.
Very similar.
What should I do?
Oh, for you? Follow your heart. I wouldn't even go with the label. I would go with the person that you feel is going to help you. Who do you connect with? Who's going to be the person that's like, that's the person that can help me through this, has the insight and the support and everything that you're looking for. I would choose that.
What do you think is different what is different in the process? Yeah,
so the skills are very similar. I've done counseling, and So one of the reasons I'm a coach instead of a therapist is when I was doing my master's work and stuff, it's considered dual agency. You cannot talk about finances as a therapist. I have such a strong business background and degrees in accounting and business and everything that, thank you. I need to be closer to that. Yeah, slide me over. Bing me up, sorry.
I wanted you in the frame. I can see that you're a little bit out of frame. So I just get through this. Thank you. Thank you. It feels so. Yeah. Put me in, coach.
So I didn't want to be a therapist because I couldn't bring all my life experience and degrees and knowledge base with me. As a coach, I don't give legal advice, although I'll give you maybe some experiences or something. I don't give medical advice, although I might tell you something that might be helpful, or an article I read or something that's happened to me. I don't give financial advice, although I have a lot of information. So it's like, you know, I always tell people, go to your expert, get your legal, you know, your attorney, your doctor, you know. However, having said that, in my disclaimer, here's what I can tell you, how I can help you. And they're like, okay. So I would say skills are very similar. Therapy seems to be more a little past driven. What happened to you as a child, all this stuff. And so it might dive further into the past. Whereas, and I'll do that if it's helpful, if it's productive to do that. Like what happened? And because it helps me understand my client better. But where my work mostly is the present, perfecting the present. What's going on now? How can we make it better? And the future. Where do you want to go? What do you want to create?
Well, something that I find interesting is that for all the therapy that I've done, talk therapy, I find that we don't dive enough into the past and we're not really peeling the onion. I find that I'm just there to vent and exhale. Like I get to sit there, lay there and just talk. And then I get asked a question that's sort of not a leading question, but it's just a regular question that just allows me to exhale and relieve the pressure a little bit more. And I feel better when I leave but I don't find that I'm doing the work and resolving. I find that by writing the letter to my father, I'm doing the work and resolving.
Mhm.
And I find that interesting. And what I find fascinating is that, as many things in life, we're the ones that have to advocate for ourselves and we have to do the work. Right? So
You can't hire someone to do your push-ups.
you can't, that's it.
Yeah, you can't.
That's
No, you
that's
can't.
it.
No one does push-ups.
Yes, that's really well said. So again, you're really leading me to want to explore coaching with you for sure.
I would be honored.
Yeah, I think we'd have a lot of fun, especially while I'm in the process of wanting to get this, and I call it a book. I don't have any illusions of grandeur of publishing or doing something like this. I do have a strong why as to why I'm doing this, and I'm very clear on that. If from there I can, I've learned that vulnerability, and I shouldn't say I'm learning that vulnerability and authenticity matter.
Oh, yeah.
I think they
It's
matter
huge.
most. I'm also learning that humility matters, and that's something that I've struggled with a lot. So I'm processing that too. But I'm dealing with all these things at the same time, and I'm grateful that I am. I'm grateful that I am dealing with all these things.
I really commend you. I mean, what
Thank you.
how vulnerable you're being with me and everyone who's watching this is amazing. And that you're wanting to be your best self and do your healing
That's it.
and work through this. And it doesn't matter the outcome of what this,
Yeah, it really doesn't.
I'm a big fan of journaling. I think there's so much value, and I recommend it to clients. Sometimes they embrace it. And
Maybe you can teach me. I was going to say, maybe you can teach me how to do more of it.
Yeah. What you're doing is not journaling. It's like, this is my life experience, and so I see value in journaling all the time. And then where it goes, like you said, I give kids, or does it get published, or I wouldn't worry about that right now. It's just the process right now. Your heart is telling you to do this, and you're following it. That's amazing. That's great. It's
exactly the same thing with Body Mind Index. Is this podcast is my way of exhaling. It really has become my way of exhaling. And when I get somebody that writes in and says, I relate to that, or I appreciate that, that's more than enough. That's more than enough for me to know that this is where I should be. Talk about cathartic, some of the messages have been very powerful. And if my way of eating by somebody thinking about or even trying it, on a couple of day basis, or they do it. I've had one person that changed some things over a month, and I think it was just salt. And all of a sudden her blood pressure went way down when she was just ready to start taking statins, and if anything, like by me just being, if that does that for somebody, perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
And see, that's a great example right there about coaching, the tweaks, small tweaks. Salt.
Yeah.
And instead of the medication, do it more naturally. It's like, that's like a little example of coaching, right? So that's what I do with my clients, little tweaks. What if this? What if that? And let's get you to do it. Because it's one thing to know it.
Yeah.
It's another thing to apply that knowledge and actually take the actions.
How do you handle people like me that are all in? Because for me, the nutritional piece wasn't a tweak. It was all in.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay.
You're sure.
Okay.
You're kind of more the exception to the rule, I think. I think for other people,
tiptoe in the water.
Yeah, just a little, let's just do this. Let's give up sodas.
Yeah.
If you tell someone they're going to go from A to Z and completely, reconstruct their life, they're just not going to do it. They're going to quit after 2 hours.
Yeah.
So you're amazing. That's great.
Well, thanks.
Not everybody can do that.
Well, and I don't know that I can do it because I've done it now for 14 or 15 months.
That's doing it.
Yeah,
That's
I'm in it.
Give yourself credit.
Yeah, but I don't. I'm trying to. What I'm trying to change about me is that there's no destination. There's a way of being, and I am doing it by just being this way and eating this way, and it was hard at the beginning, but I find time to be my friend. So the more time that goes by, the better I feel, the more removed from salt, oil, and sugar, caffeine, alcohol, I've removed myself from a lot of things that a lot of people feel they can't socially connect with others if they don't have those things in their life, right? If we can't go to a wonderful restaurant to share a meal together in this fashion without being a pain in the ass to the server, then you just rather not do that at all and have agency, right? And just so, but I'll tell you before you tell me what you're going to tell me, I just find that what I want also help with is learning to meet people where they're at. That's been one of my biggest challenges, and I think I'm realizing now that I've had a couple of people on the podcast that have gone through gastric bypass or have gone through things that are super, super hard in their own way, because sometimes people go in and knock on those doors, not all, but some people knock on those doors. Like, I have a friend that says, I think I'm going to get the sleeve because I think she believes that it's a magic pill. And I tell people, I said, if you're thinking that that's not hard, please think about it some more, because it's hard. To change the way you take in food and for your mind to catch up to that caloric restriction and the flavors and the smells. If you don't think that psychologically fucks with you, you're in for a real rude awakening, right? It's gonna mess with you, and you better have strong backup, So, but I'm having those people on my show, even if they're not doing it the way that I'm doing it, because I also wanna validate the fact that their struggle is as real or maybe even way harder than mine.
Yeah. So let me jump in on a few things.
Please.
So much, because every sentence I'm like, yeah. So there's no one right way. I always say there's no one right way to be a human being. There's no one right way to do a relationship. There's no one right way to lose weight. You got to find your way. And so your way is different. And people watching may resonate with you. Other people may resonate with your guests that you bring on, go, that's what I need. So, and that's what coaching can do for someone also.
Yeah.
Help you find your way,
Yes.
Not what you read in a book or what someone else did. Maybe those are the right ways, but maybe it's a different way for you. So to help you get clear, what is your path to get to where you want to go? What is the end result? First of all, what are you trying to do? Just get healthy, lose 10 pounds so getting clear, and then helping to strategize. How do you do it so it works for you, right? And then you were talking about like going to a restaurant. See, again, that's coaching. I'm like, coaching, let me work with you, because like going to a restaurant and being afraid to speak up. So that would be a coaching thing, finding your voice and learning the skill of how to communicate that in such a way that it doesn't annoy the waiter. But it's like you're just being honest about your request and what you need in that meal.
Can we dive into that a little bit? Okay, so every year, this time of year, I go to Vegas with the best group of guys in the world. I get to hang out with them for 2-3 days. We go for Super Bowl weekend.
But my brothers do that too.
So we probably see each other. So last year, I was just 3 months off of sugar, oil, salt, caffeine, alcohol, animal products, processed foods. I got off of I was literally 3 months off. So, which only means that I was at probably my most vulnerable and heightened sense of judgment towards others. Like, I'm better than you. Yes, I'm better than you because look at me and look what
that after 3 months ago we're eating that thing. Yeah.
So I sat in a table of, I think it was 10 or 12 guys, round table at an Italian restaurant, and the plates of veal parmesan, lasagna, they were just family style, just flying in front of my nose. And I have to be honest with you, it was hard. It was much harder than I ever imagined. I mean, my salivatory glands were just, I couldn't keep saliva in my mouth. I mean, it was just like, I needed a napkin. It was awful. And that was considering that I had done a couple of veggie protein drinks before I came down. So my stomach was full, but my mind was awful. And I did have to ask that waiter to bring me a salad with, do you have balsamic vinegar? They did have balsamic. Do you have lemon? Do you have avocado? No avocado. All they literally had was dry romaine lettuce some tomatoes, and some cucumbers. That was my meal. And after that experience, now I have that coming up 2 weekends from now. I don't feel as threatened now because I've been so far removed. I can be in front of pizza right now. Those things don't grab me. I wouldn't, I would wholeheartedly consider myself a food addict. I will proudly wear that badge. I am a food addict. I've never been an alcohol addict, or I've never been a drug addict, but I can't be left alone with food or processed foods. I will.
Food's fun.
Oh,
Food
food's
tastes
fun.
good, yeah, and
It's
they have
memories.
control to want to,
Well, remember, the processed food industry puts salt, oil, and sugar
Yeah.
because that trifecta keeps you, remember Ruffle commercials, you can't just eat one. They're made that way by
Right.
design, so you can't just eat one, you gotta eat more. So now I'm going to restaurants. When I do go to restaurants, I am that guy that just, hey, sorry to be a pain, I'm gonna be this guy and this and that, can you help me? But I find that the more I humble myself and the kinder I am towards the server and to the situation, it's worked out better for me and people want to help me.
Yeah.
The guy at the beginning who was like, oh, you mean you don't have avocados here? And you start going in that way, they don't even.
Yeah, true.
So I think I coached myself. I think, tell me what I should do.
Well,
Because I am staying away from restaurants, honestly, by design. I just, I try to.
it depends.
Okay.
So had I been your coach a year ago?
Yeah.
When you went in that first weekend, I would have had a conversation to see what's right for you. Because what's right for me may be different. I would have had the lasagna. I love it.
You would have.
When, at home, I'm mostly plant-based.
Yeah.
When I go out to eat, I eat what I want.
Yeah.
And when I travel, there are no rules.
Yeah.
And then when I get back, I get back to my normal routine. So I probably would have had that conversation with you. Like, what's most important to you? Stay the course, or is this a weekend where you can make an exception?
Yeah, but my answer would be no.
Okay, then that's what's right for you. So I would have explored that because just as a general, a lot of people have black and white thinking, either or. Either I do this. And
remember, if I go in, I'm going 2 feet first.
Yeah.
If I come out,
yes,
I'm going out 2 feet first. I mean, I not 2 feet first. I'm going to go head first.
Yeah, and it depends on personality.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like the proper care and feeding of each client, and no pun intended here. But for your personality, you needed and wanted to stay the course.
Yeah.
For someone else like me, it's like, no, I'm
handle
gonna
it.
go have fun.
Yes.
And I'm gonna be more moderate than I used to. Like, instead of the whole lasagna, I'd have half the lasagna. Instead of the whole dessert, I split one or something. So there's modifications, there's areas of gray.
Yeah.
There's so that as a coach, it's like, well, what else? How else could it look? And we may come back and say, no, this is the way for you.
Yeah.
Stay the course.
Yeah.
For some people, they can go off for a couple of days and get back on. Other people, it's like, that's gonna be disaster for me.
Yeah.
If I go back to old habits. And that's a lot of what it is, it's habits.
Well, environmentally, I find that that's the one area where I have some control is, especially at home.
Yeah.
I just opened my fridge for you a minute ago. And if you look at my fridge, there is not much in there. I mean, it's just a lot of vegetables, a lot of greenery in that fridge, and not a lot. And if you look at the cupboards, it's the same way. But then there's a cupboard at the top that is all for Susan.
The forbidden zone.
Yeah, that's kind of the zone. I don't have to lock it, but I know it's not for me. And there's trail mix, almond butter, things like that for most people are healthy.
Yeah.
But I can scoop almond butter out of the jar and literally eat scoops of almond butter because I love stuff like that. And then if you throw a banana slice or 2 in it with it, I can consume 2,000 calories of almond butter, which goes directly to my.
So, and that's another good point, because the environment, the pull of the environment is so strong.
Yeah.
And typically the environment always wins. So like for me, I like potato chips.
Yeah.
If I buy them, I eat them.
Yeah.
Fast.
That would be
soon.
Susan,
Like
yeah.
that's not like gonna sit around for a month.
Yeah.
Those potato chips are gonna be, so it's like, I know the pull of the environment. It's like a smoker. If you
Yeah.
buy the cigarettes and they're on the counter, guess what's gonna happen? If you keep them out of the house and make it a little harder for yourself, where you have to get in the car and go down to the store, you might be able to ride the urge and get through that moment.
Yeah.
And so the environment's very strong pull. So good for you that you got the covered weight. Make it hard for yourself to make, the wrong choices and make it easy for yourself to do the right things for you.
Couple of things that I'm doing for Vegas guy. I know there's going to be the one big night. The two tough parts are, for me, the toughest part is the big night, the big dinner. And then on Super Bowl day, there is the party. You know, the Super Bowl day it's sort of a tailgate. We're not going directly to the game this year because it is in Las Vegas and we didn't get tickets. But we go to the parties, and the parties have all the TVs and all the hot dogs and all that stuff, and the smells are just driving you crazy. That's not as hard for me because I'm not a big junk food kind of guy. But the dinner is the tough one. But I already have like a couple of hikes in mind that I'm going to do in the desert while I'm there. So I'm going to exhaust myself in some different ways to set up, a good outcome, because I know that when I get done doing those physically challenging things, I'm not going to want to go in and eat, lasagna or something like that.
Right. And I would guess the pull isn't as strong as it was a year ago either, because you become accustomed to things.
Yeah.
So if you're used to eating junk food, you crave junk food.
Yeah.
If you're used to eating healthy food and then you go back and have a Big Mac. I remember years ago, I had a Big Mac and I was like, oh my God, it's not even food.
They say that you don't even have to chew it. You can literally with your tongue, it'll dissolve and go down your throat.
Don't sue me.
Don't sue anybody, but man, it's not. And Susan and I went to Amsterdam one year, and we ended up partaking in the coffee shops. Well, I guess those munchies are a real thing. We got really, really hungry. I hadn't been to a McDonald's in over 20 years, probably over 25 years. And we went into a McDonald's and we had chicken nuggets. And we had so many chicken nuggets that we were sick for like 3 days after. It's like smoking cigarettes. Some of that food is really not good.
And because
if you're used to it, you can get it. Absolutely.
Did you ever see the movie Super Size?
Oh yeah, okay. Great movie.
After
I watched
best
that.
features.
Yeah,
Think about, why do you find a French fry under your car seat 3 months later and it's still a French fry?
French fry.
Because it's
Yeah.
got preservatives and all sorts of things. It's like real food would not look like a French fry after 3 months. So it's like, and believe me, I'm not an angel. I eat French fries sometimes.
Susan does too.
Yeah.
Susan falls a victim to things like that. But what's funny, if you're like Susan, when you were eating really healthy and you do something not quite as healthy, your stomach knows like right away. You feel it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Trying to think of I'm trying to think of this relationship of ours. Yeah, it's cool. I've always coaching is always something that I thought it was for other people, because in business I've coached so many people, at least in the vertical that I've been in, where I have all this experience and I just want to share it and I get excited about it. So I find that, but I do not consider myself a coach, because the reason I don't consider myself a coach is because I work best when I surround myself with people that can self-teach. I'm not a patient person, and I'm not a patient teacher.
Yeah.
So
you have to have
and
I think.
And all the people that I coached, which is, if not thousands, definitely hundreds of people that I've coached, and even for big coaching organizations that have sort of retained me to help them. They've only retained me because of my experience, not because of my aptitude or my ability to coach. They literally is textbook. Here, do what I say, and you should get a similar result, which is very far from the truth. It's not so.
But that goes back to care feeding.
Yeah.
We're all wired differently.
Yeah.
Like, you think about an organization, some people are leaders.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like if you give them the idea, they'll take it and run with it and see it through.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like they couldn't think of a thought if they had to.
Yeah.
But you give it to them, they'll do it. It's like everyone's different, so it's never really a one size fits all.
That's very cool.
So that's why a coach and the individual attention you get, I'm going to work with you, who you are and what's going to work for you. And I've been around the block enough 22 years of doing it that I was like, okay, I think this might work for this person. Right?
So me real well, but if somebody's just coming on and tuning in for the first time, and they just learn what coaching is, or maybe they knew a little bit about what coaching is, why would they consider a coach? I mean, who should consider a coach? Is there a who should consider a coach?
Yes, yeah. So the first question, why would you not want a coach? So if you wanted to learn a musical instrument, I want to learn piano, I'm going to get a piano teacher. If you want to be Tiger Woods and be the best at your sport, you're not going to just get out there and hack the ball by yourself. You're going to have coaches that are watching your swing and helping you those minor tweaks and adjustments. I mean, Tiger Woods has probably 5 or 6 coaches at any given time and has had them his whole career. So if you want to be the best at something, and why would you not want to live your best life?
Yeah.
Right? So the tagline on my business is take the next step toward the life you love. And so that's what I help people do, live the life they love. And that looks differently for every person, right? So it could be, there's so much to coaching. One is clarity. What do you want in life? You know, some people are a powerboat. They know what they want. Like you're a powerboat, I think. You know what you want and you go for it. Other people, you know, they're like a cruise ship. They know what they want, but it's going to take a long time to get there or to turn the boat around, go a different direction. And so a coach can help get you there faster and easier. And some people are like a sailboat, whatever way the wind blows. It's like, oh, I wake up, I get out of bed, I don't know what I'm doing today. So it's helping to get your life more by design than default, where you take control of your future, your destiny. It's like, what do you want? And so that's what I'm all about. It's like, I just want, you know, my only agenda is your health and happiness and success. How you define that, how you define it's different than me. So who should hire a coach? Someone who's willing to do the push-ups, because no one can do it for you. Someone who's willing to invest in themselves. It's like, okay, this is important to me. I'm willing to hire a coach and do this. And someone who sees the value. It's like, I'm going to get, you know, even the Lone Ranger had Tano, right? So it's to have a support partner, right?
Yeah.
Help you, you know, think differently, get out of the box, think bigger.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to make 100,000 a year. You know, no, how about 150? How about 200? What? No, that's scary. Well, why? Let's do that little by little. So there's so many reasons to hire a coach: life skills, time management, money management, organization, procrastination, clutter, life transitions. It's like all the things that are so important to living a great life. We don't get that in school. And I really think that there should be a whole life management class from kindergarten all the way through college. Every year.
Not to mention finances.
It's huge, huge issue.
Huge.
Yeah. My dad used to always say people can't plan beyond next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I heard that 1,000 times. And I think he's right. A lot of people can't. It's like, you're gonna buy a car, start saving for it.
Yep.
You want to buy a house or have a child or retire. Start thinking about it. Get it on the right track. I love working with young people because I can get them on the money track. Like, learn the money game now. You will be so happy down the road when you can retire or take the trip or do, you know, do the work you love, not because you have to, you need the paycheck, because you love it, right? Do it now. It's like, this isn't a dress rehearsal, right? Hire a coach, hire me, call me.
And I can assure you, she does it because she loves it. So it's a gift. No, I appreciate it. You told me a little bit about something that you're willing to offer our audience, which I was pretty excited about. Yeah.
So it's New Year. Anytime is a good time to start, but why not the new year? And so a lot of people know what coaching is. A lot of people do not, haven't experienced it. It's like trying to describe chocolate. It's creamy, it's gooey. It's just, the only way you're really going to know what chocolate is you taste it. And so this is a taster. So I'm offering a $79 1-hour special. I'm calling it like the New Year Kickstart strategy session.
Perfect.
And you'll get, it's a standalone. You will definitely get value. We can do a lot of work in 1 hour. I can get in and drill down and you'll walk away going, I'm glad I did that. So 1 hour, $79. And if you want to take advantage of that, you can send me an email. My email address is L as in Lauri Deits, D as in delightful, E-I, T as in Tom, S as in Sam. So ldeits@yahoo.com, and just put in the subject line $79 special and give me your contact information and I'll be in touch and we can schedule something, set that up.
I'll be your first one.
Yeah,
I'll be your
It's,
teacher.
it's,
You know,
I
I'll be your-
love to, we're gonna do work, we're gonna roll up our sleeves, but I love to have fun, hopefully.
Yeah,
that
oh.
conveys, it's like, it doesn't have to be
I'm
painful,
happy,
we can, we can have fun
but
while we're doing.
I'm okay with pain, just so you know.
So I can be
I
firm,
have
you
no
know,
doubt.
not to get told.
I have no doubt. I
Yeah,
have no doubt.
tell people the truth, and
Yeah.
that's one thing that is valuable in
Yeah,
coaching.
yeah,
Who's gonna give it to you straight?
that's awesome. This is a good time.
Yes. I love this. This is not where I thought we'd go, but I'm always like, that's like a coaching call. You pick up the phone and
This
it's
is
like,
my favorite.
oh,
right?
yeah, and also I should make that clear. It's by phone.
Yeah.
So I have clients all over the country and Canada and everything. So if you take advantage, we'll be doing it by phone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So thank you all for watching again. If you liked what you've heard, or if you appreciate what we're doing, please hit us up with a subscribe. Look at me. I was looking at myself again. I need to look at you. Like how we Mandel, look down the barrel.
Yes.
He says, look down the barrel. That's where they are. They're in there. So anyways, thanks for watching. Again, hit a subscribe if you like what we're doing, or hit us with a like, or hit us with a comment. We really appreciate your time hanging out with us till the end. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. Appreciate it.